ginamit. Good afternoon, teachers, and welcome po sa ating stream. No? Good afternoon, Sir Alwin, at magandang hapon sa inyo.
Magandang hapon, Sir Franco. Magandang hapon, teachers.
Yan, welcome teachers no, sa ating stream for today. Kaya today is actually like a take off from our usual sessions. Kasi parang iba yung strand natin for today, no? Kasi normally, of course, no, yung mga tools na ini-introduce natin like Edpuzzle, no, Sir Alwin, okay, ay for academics, okay, for technology integration, okay. Pero ngayon, we'll take like a little bit of an off course, okay, and explore Edpuzzle in a different dimension at different perspective, okay, para sa araw na to, no. Titingnan natin to ang Edpuzzle kung paano pwedeng gamitin si Edpuzzle, no, for promoting mindfulness, okay, and character building. Sir Alwin, bakit ba mahalaga 'tong mindfulness na 'to at why does it matter, no, especially ngayong pandemic?
Yes, Sir Franco. So siguro isa sa mga one of the reasons bakit natin naisipan na ibigay din ang mindfulness para mapakalma din minsan ang ating sarili at mas makilala natin ang ating mga sarili as teachers at yung sa ating mga students. Kasi lalo-lalo na ngayon, 'di ba, parang ang bilis nating ma-stress, ang bilis nating ma-bore sa mga nangyayari or ang bilis nating mag-rant or mag-react. So, napaka-importante ng mindfulness, napaka-importante din ng as teachers, paano natin matutulungan ang ating mga students sa kanilang pagbuo ng kanilang mga karakter or character building at paano natin may integrate ang Edpuzzle dito sa lahat ng mga bagay na gusto nating pag-usapan ngayon.
Yes, no, indeed, Sir Alwin, no. Lalo na ngayon parang siyempre lahat tayo parang pagod na, no. Actually, Sir Alwin, no, normally we would expect na things would get better. No? Parang dapat mas alam ko na ngayon, dapat mas okay na ngayon yung sitwasyon. Pero actually, mas may pagod ngayong taon na to, itong second pandemic school year. Kasi syempre, last school year, no, mas nadala tayo ng adrenaline natin. Yung talagang tipong there's a rush to adapt, okay, to do things, no? Kaya pero ngayon parang magma-manifest yung pagod natin from last school year. So hopefully our teachers really get to find this session meaningful so that they will get to settle down, okay, and really be mindful, okay, at iwas sa stress, okay, lalo na sa anxiety, no, ng mga nangyayari ngayon sa paligid natin, Sir Alwin. Okay? So, Sir Alwin, yan yung teachers, yan po ang ating pag-uusapan para sa araw na to. At kasama na rin po dyan yung ating tinatawag na character building, no, kung paano makakatulong Edpuzzle, no, tsaka mindfulness to be able to also build, no, or strengthen the characters of our students. Okay, so sana po teachers you find this session meaningful and useful for all of you. Okay? Pero siguro Sir Alwin, baka pwede muna tayong magbigay ulit, no, at ma-remind ang ating mga teachers, okay, ng ating mga ongoing events, okay, sa ating Edpuzzle Pilipinas. Na pwede niyang tingnan at salihan siguro ng mga teachers natin.
Yes, Sir Franco. So, inaanyayahan po natin muli ang mga teachers na sumali po sa ating Edpuzzle Paligsahan ng Husay bilang Edpuzzle Educator of the Month at Edpuzzle Coach of the Month. Lagi po nating pinopost or nire-share yung link para mas madali po nating ma-access ito. Teachers, mananalo po tayo ng swag, meron pong cash prize at sa ating Edpuzzle Coach of the Month, meron pong 6 months na Edpuzzle Pro upgrade, hindi lang sa inyo, kundi para sa inyong schools. Kaya teachers, sali na po tayo sa Edpuzzle Educator at Edpuzzle Coach of the Month.
Yes. No. At syempre, wag din po natin kakalimutan, teachers, na kung kayo po ay nakapasa na sa Edpuzzle Coach, no, pwede niyo po ipadala sa amin ang inyong mga profiles, okay, para magkaroon po kayo ng Edpuzzle Coach profiles, okay? And siguro Sir Alwin, invite din natin sila, no, ang ating mga teachers, okay, sa mangyayaring webinar, no, to be hosted by I think Edpuzzle APAC. Tama ba ako, Sir Alwin?
Yes,
tungkol sa ano 'no, sa updates 'no. Can you give us more information about that, Sir Alvin?
bukas po 5 p.m. Singapore time at kapareho naman po natin ang time ang Singapore na sinend ko din po yung link sa ating ah, sa Edpuzzle Pilipinas at i-share ko po. Samahan po natin ang ating APAC leader, si Miss Nikki Foot, para sa kanyang walkthrough ng iba't ibang updates ng Edpuzzle at kung paano ito ma-maximize sa online learning. Meron din po sa other side naman sa Europe, yung isa sa mga naging speaker natin, si Mr. Bogdan.
Oh,
Simultaneous po yung activity
simultaneous
nila.
'to.
Yes,
Nice,
so
nice 'to.
Europe and Asia Pacific, sabay po ang pagbibigay nila ng training at updates ng mga iba't ibang features ng Edpuzzle teachers.
Mm.
Kaya
At
sali po na,
'no, Sir Alwin, yung mga updates natin bigatin ano, at again sabi ko nga ang pinakamagandang update was the ano 'no, the Edpuzzle, Chrome extension. Sobrang grabe, ang dali ng gamitin lalo ni Edpuzzle ngayon. So teachers, kung hindi niyo pa nakikita ang, Edpuzzle, Chrome extension, i-download niyo na po para po wala kayong ma-miss teachers na. So Sir Alwin, I think we're ready and we can now, ano 'no, welcome our speaker for today. Okay, would you care to, introduce to us, our speaker, who will lead us into this session.
yes, Sir Franco, I would love to introduce our speaker for today. So teachers, our speaker for today, I can proudly say that he is one of my mentors pagdating sa paggamit ng technology at tamang paggamit ng technology. Nung pong nagsisimula ako sa pag-explore, isa siya sa mga lagi kong kinukulit at naging team leader ko din po siya sa Saver School and one of the administrators of Kaagapay Teacher Support. So teachers, to lead us into this afternoon's or this night session, let us all welcome Sir Angelo Malyari.
Good afternoon po. Okay
Bagong-bago
ba?
sa Kaagapay Teacher
Oo
Support
nga, eh.
'yan, okey.
Sorry po, kaya
Kaka-ano lang
kinakabahan
'yan.
po ako actually, eh.
Ngayon lang
Kinakabahan
'yan
po ako.
nandito. Sir Jello, good afternoon and
Good
welcome,
afternoon.
sa ating ano, na stream for today 'no. So Sir Jello, bago siguro tayo mag-start 'no, so that you can, fully maximize your session, okay? At madami tayong mas mapag-usapan na tungkol sa ating session for today is that, can you please give us like, a short introduction or a brief description of what this session will be about?
Okay. When Sir Alwin, one of our ambassadors of Edpuzzle, asked me kung pwede akong mag-speak na about this particular topic of mindfulness and character building, medyo kinabahan ako. Kasi medyo ano siya, mabigat kumbaga. Para sa akin ako, I always look into how we have to teach not only our subject matter, but also how we can prepare our students to the next stages of their lives. Kaya medyo become bigat. Pero sabi nga, tulad ng imbitasyon, pag parang si Sir Franco lang yan, pag in-invite ako ni Sir Alwin, yes, gagawa natin ng paraan yan. So, pinilit po natin na mabigyan kayo. So, overview, we'll just look into 3. Tatlo lang naman po ng flow natin. Mamaya i-explain ko yon. But just to give us a glimpse, hopefully, ang session na ito ay magbigay sa atin ng alternative on how we can integrate mindfulness, character building, even if we are in this particular setup. And this is something na hopefully, siguro feeling ko naman Sir Franco at Sir Alwin, marami na sa atin ang gumagawa nito. Pero baka lang magandang i-highlight natin na ay ito pala ay ways of how we can really be teaching our students mindfulness and character building in spite of us teaching our subject matter.
Thank you, maraming salamat Sir Jello 'no. Indeed exciting 'to 'no, kasi, isa sa mga emphasis dapat talaga natin ngayon no, more than like, on equally of course 'no, sa competence in academics 'no, kailangan yung mga estudyante natin, are also very strong in character kasi, kahit gaano ka-smart 'no, or gaano katalino yung mga estudyante natin and gaano sila ka-academically competent kapag wala silang proper character building, okay? All of those things no will be put to waste kasi sayang na sayang, okay? Sir Alwin, Sir Jello, no, we can now start the session. Teachers, okay? Don't forget that this is a certified session. So please wait for the evaluation link that will be posted after the session, okay? From where you can evaluate the session and get your certificates afterwards. Okay? Maraming salamat. And Sir Jello, the floor is yours now, and we'll see you in a while after your session.
Okay.
Good luck,
Maraming salamat
teachers.
po. Okay. Mag-start na po akong mag-share ng aking screen. Yan, hopefully po makita. Yan. Ah, paki pakibigyan ako ng signal po kung nakikita ba? Kasi ako
Yes,
po hindi ko po
Sir
nakikita.
Jello, we can
Okay,
see
sige.
it now.
Yan. Okay. So, again, teachers, maraming salamat po for being here. And for our session, okay, I try to make it as short as possible kasi magandang tingnan na rin ang mindfulness and character building in the perspective of how we actually apply it to our classrooms. So, for our flow, simple lang po. We'll have three parts. So, first is we talk about the meaning of mindfulness and character building. Ano nga ba sila? And I know we have been um, hearing about mindfulness and character building, especially in this time of the pandemic. Isa sa pinakamahalaga na sigurong naibigay sa atin ng pandemyang ito ay yung pagiging mindful. Okay, to be mindful, especially of what is happening around us. And another is, of course, character building. Something that at times there's a tendency for us to forget because we're so much focused on the things that we have to accomplish, our tasks, our subject matter, and it is high time for us to also look into what is necessary, especially that we are in this setup in this pandemic. Then second po, we'll try to look into how we can integrate. So there are some ways, okay, that we can integrate. I also share how I try to integrate mindfulness and character building in my lessons. Okay? Although later on po, baka masabi niyo po, madali lang ma-integrate ni Sir Jello po yung mindfulness and character building kasi masyadong malapit sa kanyang subject matter. But okay, there are still other ways. Marami pong ways para tayo magbigay ng or how we can integrate mindfulness and character building in our lesson. So later on, I'll also be asking you to share ano po ng mga ginagamit nyo or ginagawa nyo na in this particular aspect. And lastly, certification because ako po na-surprise when Sir Alwin again invited me to give this talk that Edpuzzle actually have a certification, student certification on character building. And it's a good resource because we are not only teaching our students our lesson, but we're giving them an opportunity to build their characters. And we will highlight six. Okay, we will highlight six. I think later on po si Sir Alwin will give us where and how we can actually go through this particular certification as well. So let's begin first with mindfulness and character building. Ano nga ba sila? Okay? So, according to the American Psychological Association, ito po ng definition na ng mindfulness. And I think this is a particular definition that sometimes we tend to forget. May parts po tayo na minsan na, ako rin po mismo, minsan na nakakalimot po tayo. Ako, nakakalimot din ako. Pagdating pag mindfulness. Okay? So, mindfulness now is a moment-to-moment awareness of one's experience without judgment. So, in this sense, mindfulness is a state and not a trait, sabi ng American Psychological Association. And quoting from that, there are some educators who also been studying mindfulness. And one of the things that captured me, and I think almost the same as the meaning the first one, it's non-judgmental awareness of the present moment. Okay. Bakit ko po nasabi na parang guilty po ako? Okay, in this minsan, am I really mindful or not? yes, at times, I can say that I'm trying to be mindful of the things that is happening around us. But there's a tendency at times for me to be judgmental. And I don't know po sa inyo if you have experienced that as well. Na minsan, eto nung nangyayari, meron na agad tayong judgment. Baka kasi ganito yan. Or, nangyayari yan kasi ganito. Okay? But it's a reminder for us that mindfulness is actually just be there in the moment without judging anything. Okay? I remember when mindfulness was introduced in our school, in Xavier School po, uh, there was one uh, part, kasi meron po kaming moment of silence or moment of mindfulness. Okay? Na dun sa spiel or dun sa sinasabi po habang nagma-mindfulness kami, one thing that captured my attention is that, sabi doon, to just be aware of what is happening around us. And if you got distracted, it's okay. Kasi minsan, dun tayo sa tendency na na-distract ako, kailangan i-let go, let go. I have to be mindful of that. Pero sometimes, in that particular moment, when you are distracted, you are just being mindful. That's what is happening at the very moment. And you are not judging it. Kaya tumatak sa akin yung phrasing na po yun. Kasi it invites me to just be mindful of what is happening. To just be aware. If I'm distracted, acknowledge it. Okay? Acknowledge it. Okay? If there are things that is happening, as I do mindfulness exercises, let it be. Okay? And I think one of the things that captures us or madalas na nakikita na natin pag sinabing mindfulness is either two things. Is the mind full, ang daming laman, or are we really mindful of what is happening? And it's a challenge for us, especially in this trying times. Because there are many of us who are concerned. There are many concerns. Napakarami pong concerns. And we don't say that ignore all those concerns and just let go of them. No. Be mindful is also, sabi nga, it's a state where you just look into what is happening at this particular moment. We're not disregarding the things that is our concerns, our worries, all the distractions in around us, but we have to acknowledge that we are in this particular moment. So mindfulness, to be here at this very moment on your experience without judgment. Okay? So maganda, madaling sabihin, pero actually mahirap po minsan gawin kasi nga ang daming distraction, daming ano na we tend to judge immediately. Okay, mahilig tayong i-label agad yung mga bagay-bagay. Okay? So in definition, that is mindfulness po. Okay, according to the psychologies. And hopefully, okay, we ask ourselves, are we really mindful or are we really mindful? Okay? Do we really practice mindfulness in its essence or kung ano no according to how we know it, or may mga other things din tayo na may miss out? Okay? And if we do, sabi nga, at this very moment, it's good to be mindful. If we feel that at this particular moment, you're not mindful, it's okay. Because that is the present moment. And we don't want to judge that particular, mali yan, or tama yan. Because being mindful is just being there, being present. Okay? So it's an invitation for us to just be there, being present. Okay? For character building, ito po, kinuha ko po to dun mismo sa introduction of the module. Napakaganda kasi ng pagkaka-word. I think it started with the quote, okay, from Martin Luther King, okay, that hopefully we are not judged, okay, because of our color, but because of our character. And for us teachers, we know that the teaching process should be holistic. It should encompass everything. Okay, so rather than just educating our students on their subject matter, I know we really try our best to help our students to become the best version of themselves. But sometimes we have also to be mindful of that. Kasama po yan sa mindfulness. If we really want to build their character, we have to also look into the way we teach. Are we teaching our students to be the best version of themselves, not just to receive the best grades that they can have? So, challenging po yan to build character. But it is something that I always believe that is always necessary. As a teacher, this is one of our goal. Sabi nga ni Sir Franco kanina sa introduction, hindi lang sana natin binibigyan ng pagkakataon ng ating mga estudyante na magkaroon ng kaalaman. Pero sana bigyan din natin sila ng pagkakataon na maging mabuti, maging totoong tao. Okay, if I may use that words or those words. Okay? So, hopefully, I think clear naman po sa atin what is mindfulness and what is character building. Now, let's try to look into how we can integrate. So, we know that being mindful is actually being able to be present at the very moment. And to build character is not just to look into our subject matter, but also to look for the holistic growth of our students. So, ito po nakita ko habang nagpe-prepare po ko for this particular talk. Ito, nakita ko from Teach To, meron silang tips on how to get started with mindfulness in the classroom. Okay? Number one, they say, we have to create a quiet space in your classroom. I know it can be very challenging. It can be very challenging for not only for our students but even for ourselves, 'di ba? Minsan nga to just be in the classroom is already a challenge. Asking our students to quiet down might be an additional challenge. Pero it's one way daw to get started. Second, pay attention with purpose and curiosity. We have to think about, okay, and pay close attention to what we are doing, what is the purpose of our teaching, and let our students to also be curious about learning. Number three, I think this is one of the things that maybe na-try nyo na po or ginagawa rin na, especially if you are asked to do mindfulness exercises, is the guided meditation daily. Okay? There are times that we were asked, okay, to just settle down, to stop, and just be mindful of the things. Fourth is to offer caring wishes. Okay? To show that we care to our students is a very big thing. It's actually a way for us to really be mindful of their context. Fifth is to practice gratitude. Pasasalamat. Okay? Six is define it. And sometimes being mindful also asks us to be very true to ourselves, especially with what we are experiencing, especially of what we are feeling, especially of what we are undergoing. Seven, we have to also be patient. Okay? To be mindful, to be patient. Eighth is to model it. Of course, we have to model it. Kung hindi po nakikita na ating mga estudyante na tayo ay mindful, na tayo ay wala sa present moment, they may not also be present. Okay? 9 is to transfer it. And then again, number 10, model it. So, paulit-ulit po ng modeling. Okay? So, ako po, just to share some things of that I am doing to just be mindful. Okay? To my classroom is number one, of course, I already shared with you, previously po, we have what we call the mindfulness exercise. That before we start the class, around 3 to 5 minutes, we have that. We just settle down. We just be aware of what is happening around us. If we hear, for example, the sound of the air conditioning or the electric fan, if you hear the sound of the birds chirping, okay, or the noise outside, just be mindful of it. Just be present in the very moment. So that's one way that we try to practice mindfulness. But now in this particular setup, ako po before I begin my classes, of course we started with a prayer. And in the prayer, we I also ask my students that those things. I don't know if they still remember it during the time that they were asked to be mindful, but I asked them to be mindful of the things that is happening around them. It's an invitation for them to quiet down. If they can let go of their worries, if they can let go of the things that they're thinking, and just be present in the very moment to listen to the sound of their gadgets, the people around them. If they get distracted, I said it's okay. Try to go back to just being mindful. So one way that I do is to integrate mindfulness exercises, simple mindfulness exercises at the very beginning of my class. That's one. Second po, what I normally do is may mga simple check-ins. Okay? Um, I ask them different things. It can be to just ask them would you rather question, or at times, most of the times, I ask them to uh, how are they? Kamusta ba kayo? May mga concerns ba kayo? Okay? I remember in before the start of my lesson, I always integrate I try to integrate the rose, thorns and buds. Rose are the highlights of their day, the highlights of the things or something that they are happy about. The thorns may be the challenges that they have, and the buds are their hopes. So I ask them to share, just share in the chat box, okay? And nakakatuwa minsan kasi nandun makita mo kung nasan sila, their context, and knowing their context is actually being mindful. Baka mamaya kasi nakakalimutan natin na may mga pinagdadaanan din ng mga students natin. And even us, we're not disregarding ourselves. That's why it's also good when we do mindfulness activities in our classroom. We also take part of it. So kung humingi tayo ng sharing from them, we also try to share ano ba ng mga concerns natin. It can be very risky. Yes, kasi siyempre, baka sabihin niya, "Sir, outside na yata nung aking personal life." Yes, it can be. It can be looked at that in that particular perspective. But you can also look at it in another perspective. Because at times, students would like to know that they're not alone. Na itong nararamdaman nila is nararamdaman rin ng bawat isa. Okay? Another thing that I do to have that mindfulness is number 4 and 5. So offering caring wishes, especially for those who are struggling. I try to cheer them up. Again, pag tinignan po natin, many of my examples are even, I'm not even talking about my subject matter. But these are the little things that we can do actually to be mindful. Okay? So, caring wishes. Recently, there are a number of our students who are affected by the pandemic. As in, talagang na-hit po sila ng pandemic. And sometimes you have to just stop and just ask them how are they. At times, I do it in the classroom or during the discussion. At times, I ask those students to just stay behind and just talk to them. And little did I know that many of them really appreciate that, na may nagtatanong sa kanila. And also practice gratitude. Being a teacher in this online setup may be challenging. And sometimes we don't have all the answers. And sometimes it's also good to ask help from our students and say thank you. reminding me of this. For example, 'di ba, mga simple reminders lang po. "Ay, naka-mute kayo sir, hindi namin kayo marinig." Okay? Unmute and then say, "Thank you. Thank you for reminding me." Or, "Wala pong audio, hindi namin marinig." 'Di ba? Or, "Sir, hindi namin makita." Or, "Puwede niyo po bang ulitin?" Okay? Those simple things are being mindful. And siguro to capture one of the last, there is what I call sometimes um, the catch the moment. I don't know if you've heard of that or uh, it's a teaching moment. Because sometimes, 'di ba, sa classroom po, hindi natin maiwasan when we are in our discussion, 'di ba, nagdi-discuss tayo, then there's something that pop up, a very important matter. Sometimes we have to stop because that is actually a teaching moment. And sometimes capturing it can be more or give more impact than just our lessons. We're not saying na, okay, abandon ship. Pero maganda sana kung ma-catch natin ang mga moment na yon habang nandoon. Although there is of course that side na baka mamaya naman maging uh, it's a moment for you to just make sermon in that particular sense. Pero sometimes it's a way for us to really capture because that is a teachable moment. So sometimes yun po nung ginagawa ko. Kapag meron akong nakita na sa tingin kong kailangan i-catch yung attention ng mga students ko, I stop my discussion for a while, address that, share that. Hopefully, they have those impact and then go back. Medyo, sometimes it's challenging, pero it helps in them to see, sabi nga modeling, to see that you are mindful, that you just don't disregard nung nangyari. Kasi nga, being mindful is just be there, present, without judgment. Okay? If there's a need for us to judge, we can do it outside class or outside the room. Oh, may pagkakataon pa tayo to do that. Pero maganda na, again, to be mindful of those things. Okay, so that's for mindfulness. And if we try to look at it, pagpunta po natin sa character building or character development, parang pareho lang, 'di ba? One of the challenges in teaching character is to model it, 'di ba? Isa sa mahirap po 'yon, modeling. Ako po nagtuturo po ako, I'm teaching CLE or Christian Life Education or for public school siguro po or public setting, pwede po siyang i-translate as the ESP, edukasyon sa pagpapakatao. And it's difficult to teach something that you are not living out. I always share, I think kami po nila Sir Franco ni Sir Alwin, kapag magkakaroon kami ng moments to talk about things, okay? I always share na ang hirap maging teacher kasi kailangan model ka rin. Pag sinabi mo na eto ang tinuturo mo, dapat makita rin nila yung yoon sa'yo. So one of the challenges, for example, for us, for me as a Christian life education teacher, is that when I, for example, say, I have to forgive. Forgiveness is an important value, important trait that we have to live out, an important characteristic, important virtue that we have to embrace. Kailangan ako rin mismo, kaya kong magpatawad, madali akong magpatawad. So modeling is something that is very much difficult, but at the same time, it actually builds character. Because many, sabi nga in the recent talk that I attended, where they share kung ano yung mga bata, ano nung gusto ng mga bata ngayon, what students or what young people wanted. They want people who are witnesses. They want people who models. They don't want people who just preach. They want teachers that is willing and able to live out what they are teaching. So that's number one. Number two is to challenge them. Because character building doesn't always say you have to just be good. Kasi hindi lang naman po pagiging mabuti ang ang kailangan matutunan ng ating mga estudyante. Sometimes we have to challenge them to for example, to have a mindset, a growth mindset, ba? Yung tipong mga bata natin na, hindi, mahirap yan, I can't do it. Okay? Sometimes, just by changing or adding a word can change its meaning. When I encounter some students that will say to me, "Sir, ang hirap naman. Hindi ko yata kaya yan." I always tell them back, "Kaya mo yan. Maaring hindi mo pa kaya ngayon, pero kaya mo yan." Adding the word, hindi pa kaya ngayon, just say, hindi mo kaya, or adding in English, adding the word yet, I don't know, and I don't know yet, changes already. And it challenge them. We have to challenge them. Because building character is not a one-time thing. I think we already know that as teachers. Hindi naman siya isang one-time, big time na, okay, I'm already good always. It's an ongoing process. That's why we always have to challenge them. And how we can challenge them? So, sabi, integrating naman natin sa lesson natin. Ako po, what I usually do is, I use examples, I use real life examples or mga scenarios where I can challenge them. I can challenge not only their thinking, but also how will they react, how will they act and react. Because that will help them hone their um, character. At the same time, hindi lang po ako po personal, hindi agad ako nagsabi, eto nung tama, eto dapat yung dapat mong gawin. Again, as we mentioned, many of our students, many of our young people don't want dictators. They want witnesses, they want models. So, we challenge them, but we also listen to them. Bakit ito nung ginawa mo? Without, again, sabi nga, without judgment. That's part of being mindful. So, at times, when we teach values, ako po personally, when I teach values, I don't only teach, eto kasi nung tama. Minsan, binabalik ko sa kanila. Bakit sa tingin mo ito dapat? Ha? Ask them to reflect. I think that's part of the challenge. Reflect. And one of the very thing that I really like about our subject, or one of the skills that we're trying to hone our students in our subject matter, is the skill of reflection. And I always say this when my students ask, and even my parents po, kapag nagtatanong sila, "Sir, paano po ba namin sasagutin?" Kasi for the information po of all, our reflection is also part of our assessment. And sometimes, when I have parents asking me, "Sir, how can we improve in answering our reflections?" Tatlong bagay po yung binibigay ko po parati sa kanila. First, of course, since it's a reflection, we want them, since it's a subject matter, there's still some objective ways that we want them to know. Of course, we want to know how they were able to know the particular subject, 'di ba? Ano ng mga tinuro namin, their understanding of it. 'Di ba kasi mamaya mali, syempre 'yun ang mahalaga. Kailangan pag sabi, "Okay sir, alam na nakuha naman po namin 'yon. Ano pa po ang dapat?" I always ask them, when you do reflection, you always go back to your experience. Ano ba yung naramdaman mo? Ano ba yung na-experience? Ano ba nung nangyari sa'yo? And one of the things that I always ask my students in terms of reflection is, don't only, wag lang natin banggitin. Don't just mention the story or mention the experience. Go deeper to it. And then they will ask me, "Sir, how can you go deeper?" Look at how you reacted. Look at how, or what are the things that you think, and what are the things that you felt. Kasi yung po nung magdo-draw out, bakit kaya? For example, when some of my students will share their experience, for example, of service interaction. The service interaction po is one of the features that we have in Savior School, where they try to interact. They try to, uh, in a way, be part of that particular situation to understand, 'di ba? Para po maintindihan ng ilang mga bata natin kung ano nung nararamdaman, nararanasan ng mga tao. Magandang bigyan sila ng pagkakataon makilala sila. Okay? For example, service interaction. Okay? So, there are some of my students who will say, okay, they've learned about their service interaction, they learn about this and that and this and that. But sometimes they stop there. That's why I have to challenge them in true reflection and ask them, now that you know this, what did you feel? Naging masaya ka ba? Nalungkot ka ba? Naramdaman mo ba na ikaw ay nasa magandang katayuan or nasa hindi magandang katayuan? Bakit mo naramdaman to? So again, challenge them to go deeper to their experiences, to go deeper to their learnings. So, nung reflection po, hindi lang po siya for experiences actually. You can also look into how they think about their thinking. So, metacognition. Why are you thinking that way? Bakit itong naisip mo? Bakit hindi ito? And it helps them to really challenge. Okay? So, yun po. For reflection, yun po nung hiningi ko. So, nung understanding nila and experience nila. And it doesn't stop there because reflection should, okay, in our IPP or the Ignatian pedagogical paradigm, it always draws you down to action. Dapat may action. So ngayon, alam mo na to, ano nang gagawin mo? So again, it's a challenge. It's building character. And sometimes you have to make sure or try to help them to think about na hindi lang hanggang dito. Ano pa nung pwede mong gawin? But of course, we have to contextualize it. Baka mamaya po grade 1, ito lang talaga nung grade 1 lang, ito nang kaya niya. Kung grade 10 naman po siya or high school naman siya, ano nung pwede niyang gawin? Ito nung pwede niyang gawin. But one of the key that I challenge my students as well in character building, kasi sometimes in Christian life education po kasi, there are some students who think that when you give a very positive answer, okay ka na. Pero sometimes, for example, in a reflection, in character building, hindi naman po lang puro magaganda yung mga nararamdaman natin. Sometimes, the challenging ones can also teach you. Sabi nga, most of the time, the challenging one will teach you more. Diba? Will teach you more. So, I always say to them, hindi naman po dahil ito nung in-expect namin sagot, ito lang. We always welcome all experiences. If they struggle with this particular value, for example, of forgiveness, share it to them. Share it in that particular moment. Because maybe that is a way for you to understand why are you having difficulty and what can you do to overcome that difficulty. And if the students will be able to do that, hopefully, it also adds to the character building that they have. Third is respect. Respect po in a sense that there are times kasi that when we ask our students to respond, siyempre minsan po may mga set na tayong sagot, 'di ba? May mga alam na natin na ito talaga yung dapat na sagot. Pero minsan lumilihis sila doon sa sagot na 'yon. Sometimes there is that temptation to just correct it and tapos na. Or if taliwas siya doon sa nais mong makalaman nila. So again, I'm teaching po Christian life education. Sometimes there are things, especially now, that our students are struggling with because ito nung understanding nila, itong paniniwala nila. It's very for me, sometimes it's very tempting to just say mali yan. Ito dapat kasi. But sometimes you have to give them that respect. Bakit kaya yan? Ano ba, saan ka ba nanggagaling? Again, going back to the context, listening to them, trying to understand where they're coming from, and even sometimes offering the lesson and let them be the one to embrace it. Para pong pagtatanim, di ba? You just plant and hope it will grow. As a CLT teacher, that's one of the things that I have learned in character building. You plant seeds and pray and hope that it will grow. Of course, kailangan natin diligan, kailangan natin ilagay sa sa araw. Minsan, yun nga, we have to challenge them, we have to cultivate them in order for them to grow. Pero at the end of the day, we have to trust. We have to just pray and trust that all the things that we're teaching them will grow. And taken to the last part, of course, to teach values. To teach values. More than our lessons, it's always a challenge for us to teach the values, to integrate values. That's why, parati ko po naririnig, I don't know if you agree with me, my dear teachers, at times, the challenge for us is to integrate values in our discussion. Diba? Integrate trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring. So, paano po natin gagawin yun? Diba? How we will teach those values. And at times, you can do that at the very beginning of your lesson. Diba? Minsan, the stories that you will be using have values already. The examples that you were using can have values as well. But hopefully we don't end our lesson without teaching them values. No matter how small the value that you want them to partake, try it. Of course, the challenge is to align our lessons to that. I always remember when I have my conversation with my wife, because my wife is a math teacher. Ito po na minsan challenge na. Paano ko i-integrate ito sa lesson ko? Ang lesson ko is, I don't know, let's say for example, calculus. I don't know kung tama po no, binigay ko example. Or inferential statistics. Ito nung discussion stat. Paano ko siya i-integrate? So, maaring medyo mahirap siya, pero tignan natin, baka dun sa example, kung saan nila i-draw out, yung mga, i-gather yung kanilang mga ideas or mga kailangan i-gather. Sorry po, forgive me, I'm not a math teacher po. So, yun, for example, gathering the data, maybe the context, the scenario that they're getting it, pwede kayong magdagdag ng values. Or after it, ano ba yung tinuturo? Kasi minsan, division. Anong pwedeng value natin na ibigay doon? Diba? Dividing, sharing, pwedeng ganon. Or multiplication, again, pwede rin po yun, sharing. So, again, medyo, minsan, kailangan natin maging creative, pero hopefully, they'll be able to teach, we will be able to teach values. Yan, may mga nakita rin po ako dito sa ating chat box, ang dami. Let's say, yan, sabi ni Sir Fern, you let the students fill out forms, establish trust. Yes, mahalaga po 'yon. Kaya po nung nakita ko po tong picture na to, don't just teach kids how to count. Teach them what counts most. Yes, mahalaga po ang ating lesson. Pero sana wag natin kalimutan kung ano rin yung mga mahalagang bagay. And building their character, building the values in them, challenging them to be better persons, to be the best person that they are, baka yun po nung mas mahalaga. I remember, just to share again, one of the challenges that we have in our school at the start of the pandemic is to, I think everyone naman po have experiences, is to trim down the content. Diba? Isa po sa pinaka-challenge yun to trim down the content. Ang hirap kasi syempre, we are in the pandemic, ano ng mga bagay na dapat namin ituro, 'di ba? Ano yung essential? Kaya po sinasabi ko parati, may I don't know if you will agree with me, but I always hear this to Sir Jambi. So, hello Sir Jambi. Parang narinig ko parati kay Sir Jambi na hindi naman natin sinasabing may ano, we're not saying na mabuti yung pandemya, pero kung merong naging isang mabuting bagay na dinala ng pandemya is to know what really matters, to know what really is important. And maybe we can start with that. Yes po, mahalaga kung ano ituro natin, pero mahalaga rin kung ano yung mga dapat na matutunan ng ating mga students. And integrating them can help us in this particular part to build their character, to build who they are, and to challenge them to be the best versions of themselves. Because at the end of the day, they will be the next generation of lawyers, doctors, policemen, politicians, or employees, 'di ba? Kung makapagtanim po tayo ng mga mabubuting bagay na pwede nilang palaguin sa kanilang sarili, I think as a teacher, that's already a good success. May biro nga po nung one of the heartwarming message I received from my student. At minsan po hindi ko alam kung masasaktan ba ako do sa message niya. Baka message niya sa akin, "Sir, thank you. Thank you for this one. I may not be able to remember all the things that you teach, but I remember the time when you become a father to me." So parang doon pa lang, wow, nagkaroon na pala ako ng impact. Hindi ko man lang nalaman na yun yung naging factor. But maybe yan nga the 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 seed that we plant to our students have grown, will grow in due time. Yan, sabi ni Sir Ferns, the end of education is character. Character above all. Yes po. So sana hindi lang po natin sila palaguin sa karunungan. Bigyan natin sila ng kamalayan para maging mabuting tao. Gusto ko pong sabihin sana nung I forgot po because one of the things when I always talk about character building, I always remember, mahilig po kasi ako manood ng movie, lalo ng Tagalog movie. I don't know kung sa One More Chance po yun. When the father of, paki-correct po kung tama po, when the father of Popoy, yata po kung tama. I know, no, not One More Chance pala. It is, I forgot, it's si Sarah, sorry po, si John Lloyd Vincent po. Pero, just meron pong part doon na namatay ng father. And nung sinabi ng father, ang habilin niya doon sa kanyang anak, I don't want you to be the best person. I want you to be the isang mabuting tao. Gusto niya na maging mabuting tao more than maging magaling. So hopefully, we always integrate character building in our education. Yes, educating your mind without educating your heart is no education at all. Sabi nga ni Aristotle. Thank you po, Ma'am Pea. Now, let's move on to the certification. I think Sir Alwin will discuss this further. Pero as I was looking into the certification process for students on character education or character building, ang ganda po. But kasi dun sa certification nila, they highlighted six things that I think that our students need really to learn. First is the curiosity. In the certification of Edpuzzle, there are videos about curiosity. Bakit po mahalaga yun in character building? Because asking questions is very important. It will lead them to know deeper themselves. Sabi nga, since nabanggit po kanina si Aristotle, one of the things that I really like about philosophy, ang dami po yung mga thoughts. Sabi ni uh, Socrates, di ba po? An unexamined life is not worth living. If we don't ask ourselves, okay, if we don't ask and examine ourselves and got curious about things, it's not worth living. And even in philosophy, one of the things that tumatak po sa akin is, ang mahalaga daw, what is more important are the questions, not the answers. Kaya di ba, the Socratic way, it always asks you to ask questions. So, it asks our students to be curious. Especially in this day and age, my dear teachers, kasi ngayong panahon ito, marami sa mga kabataan natin, are just, nando sila sa state na they just swipe, accept, accept, accept. Diba? Even us, minsan, we were guilty of that. Diba? Sa social media natin, if kung na-notice nyo po yung ating mga actions, nandun tayo sa skimming. Diba? We just skim through, oh, meron maganda, oh, ilalike ko to, okay na yun. Pero, do we really find time to be curious about it? Is it real? Is it true? So, critical thinking po, mahalaga yon in developing character. Okay? Developing our character. Second is grit. Of course, napakarami sa mga student natin, madalas mapanghinaan ng loob. Okay? Ayaw ng mahirapan. May mga ganon. I remember a student of mine who always asked me, "Sir, bakit parating why ang tanong ninyo sa amin sa klase?" Sabi ko, kasi kung hindi ko kayo tatanong ng why, I will not challenge you. And it's always been his question. Sir, kailangan ba talaga ng why? And I can sense na medyo at times nahihirapan siya kasi nga parating pag may tinatanong ng mga students or may sinasagot ng mga students, what I usually do is I always ask them back, "Are you sure about that? What if ganito? Or ganito ng scenario?" And sometimes they will not speak up or they will not So, teaching them grit in the classroom, challenging them, can help also in their character later on kapag medyo difficult na yung sitwasyon natin. For example, now that we are in the pandemic, it's not easy. But many of us were able to go through it because of our grit. Third and fourth is growth mindset. Napakaganda po nitong growth mindset. I really love this because there are times that many of our students can say, "No, hindi ko na kaya yan. I give up." But growth mindset says, hindi mo pa kaya yan ngayon, pero kaya mo yan. Growth mindset helps you to challenge yourself. We know that knowledge is not just absolute. Knowledge is just not is stagnant. You can always grow that. And nakakatuwa po, for example, in the kaagapay, di ba? Ating mga kaagapay, in Edpuzzle, we always challenge ourselves, di ba? To know more, to grow more. And nakakatuwa po, katulad ngayon sa ating chat box, napakadaming mga teachers attending a webinar. You may agree, not agree with all of the things that you hear that, but that is a sign of growth mindset because you challenge yourself. Kung hindi ka nag-agree, bakit hindi ka nag-agree? Maaring makita natin yun. Reflection again. Kung nag-agree ka, paano mo to ngayon magagamit kung hindi mo pa siya nagamit? And growth mindset. And of course, purpose. If our students will be able to know why they are doing this, it's already a good way for them to do it. Diba? To find purpose, to find meaning. And the last two is gratitude and kindness. Being thankful is a key for us to build character. A grateful heart is a blessed heart. Diba? A grateful heart is a good heart. Ang pusong parating nagpapasalamat ay isang puso na handang tumanggap ng paglago. And of course, kindness. Kindness, something na pag binigay nyo po ay parating magre-ripple effect. Whether it is a big one or a small one. So, I think Sir Alwin will discuss this further, pero yung po nung magandang mga bagay na may offer sa atin ng Edpuzzle. The training, okay, for our students and maybe for us as well to build our own character and how we can build our character to our students as well. So, hopefully po, my simple sharing, I was able to share with you how we can be mindful and how we can build character in our classroom. And at the same time, okay, challenge ourselves also to be mindful and to build our own character so that we will be able to touch more lives and touch our students. Yan po. Maraming salamat po.
Ayan, thank you very much, Sir Jello, for that very wonderful sharing. At napaka-active ng ating uh, chat. Ano, Sir Franco, Sir Jello?
Nga.
Yes,
So, maraming salamat
Sir,
din sa mga
Sir Alvin,
teachers.
napaka-active. Oo. Daming insights sa sa chat natin kanina no while Sir Jello is talking about it. No? At well, we can all agree talaga no yung importance ng character no pagdating sa 21st century education. Kaya sometimes napuput aside 'yan in exchange of competence like and Sir Jello no and Sir Alwin of course we understand our teachers kasi minsan kahit example yung tinatawag nating valuing inserting values no tsaka character minsan talaga naiipit siya ng mga standardized test at saka mga
Yeah.
no mga requirements sa mga teachers natin na kailangan makapasa sila ng ganitong standardized test, kailangan mataas ang score nila sa test, no? Yun yung nagiging dilemma siguro ng mga teachers natin. Pero, sana teachers to we always find a way to negotiate no yung while we're developing competence academic competence to our students no we're also developing character to them para paglaki po nila no Sir Alwin tsaka Sir Jello hindi po sila yung gagamitin ang kanilang kaalaman para mang-abuso, mang-api ng ibang tao. No? They'll become like a better citizen that will make our society better. So yun yung gusto natin gawin. That's why we keep on pushing character building na teachers. Gaano man po kahirap, ipasok po natin. No? Siyempre Sir Alwin, meron ka bang mabibigay ng mga tips sa kanila pagdating sa paano ba si Edpuzzle no makakatulong dito sa character building na to Sir Jello and Sir Alwin.
Yes sir, sa akin siguro mas maganda ipakita ko yung sa nasa platform Sir Franco para mas makita ng ating mga
Sige
teachers
po.
kung ano yung gusto nating
Yes.
ipakita.
Go ahead Sir Alwin. Yan. Teachers, no, we're just waiting for Sir Alwin's screen to be shown para lang po mas makita natin paano nga ba mag-fit itong si Edpuzzle dito sa ating intention to create no or to help our students no build their character and also promote mindfulness no to our students, actually to our teachers din no. Okay? Kahit po tayo po kailangan din natin maging mindful niyan. Go ahead Sir Alwin.
Hello teachers, so ito po, nandito po tayo ngayon sa Edpuzzle. At kung makikita po natin, dito po tayo pupunta, i-click lang po natin yung ating amazing na profile picture. At i-click po natin ang certifications. Dito po sa certifications, teachers, makikita natin, wait lang po.
Nag-lag pa yata. Yes. Hintayin natin teachers, no? Maybe you have to refresh Sir Alvin, okay? Pero sa teachers, no, while we're waiting for Sir Alvin's sharing, no, syempre, yung mga features pa lang ni Edpuzzle, malaking tulong yan. Say for example, pag may mga lessons kayo, mga video lessons kayo, no, dahil meron tayong annotating capability kay Edpuzzle, pwede kayo maglagay ng mga reflection questions sa dulo, sa gitna ng mga video lessons niyo, no. So hindi kailangan laging multiple choice questions yung mga binibigay natin. We can actually insert mga ano no, questions for values, okay, values integration. Okay, go ahead Sir Alvin.
So dito po teachers, so after po nating i-click yung certifications, i-explore lang dito po tayo sa student certifications and then i-click po natin ang explore courses. Sa explore courses po, makikita natin dito teachers yung mga binanggit kanina ni Sir Jello, lalong-lalo na yung building character. Pero hindi lamang po ito ang ino-offer ng Edpuzzle. Kung makikita po natin, napakarami po ng gustong itulong din sa atin ng Edpuzzle at sa ating mga students. So we also have digital citizenship, equal rights, personal finance, emotional intelligence, learning and study habits, health, at yung nga, yung shinare kanina ni Sir Jello na building character. Then teachers, kung titingnan po natin dito, ang dami pong module na prepare ng Edpuzzle para din sa ating mga students. At i-click lamang po natin ang explore course. Nandito po yung iba't ibang module: curiosity, grit, growth mindset, purpose, gratitude, at kindness. So
Ang
kung
ganda.
itututukan natin teachers, dito po yung be curious about everything. Short videos lamang po ito. So pwede po nating i-share sa ating mga students siguro kapag meron during our advisory period or mag-check
Yes.
in sa kanila. So hindi lang po, ang Edpuzzle po, yun nga yung sinasabi natin, it's not just a platform na pag mag-edit ng video, pero nakikita po natin yung support ng Edpuzzle sa ating mga teachers at sa mga students. So
At
yung
ito
ito
Sir
po yung
Alvin
mga,
'no, i-share na lang natin 'to sa mga students tapos ready to go na 'to 'no?
yes, Sir Franco. So i-click lang
Oo,
po
ang
natin yung
ganda.
video, then share preview, copy, assign, edit. Actually po, na-prepare na po ito ng Edpuzzle para sa atin. Under po ito ng high school curriculum. Pero pwedeng-pwede din pong mas maintindihan ito ng mga grade school students natin.
Anyway, pwede man nilang i-edit yung questions eh. So, you just have to make a copy of the video, no? Para ma-annotate nila ng sarili nila. Makapaglagay sila ng sarili sigurong reflection questions, okay? Or mga ano, no, annotations dun sa video na Sir Alwin. Ganda, ganda. Pinakagusto ko yung ano, greet. Teachers, no, sana maituro natin yan. Greet. Kailangan po ng ating 21st century learners, okay? Ang greet teachers, no? In a short word, yung grit is the ability to sustain itself despite the challenges. Yung hindi basta-basta sumusuko. Um, Kasi minsan may tendency yung mga young youth natin ngayon no, na talagang pag naka-encounter ng challenge, ang bilis magkaroon ng ano, ang bilis mag-give up. No? Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Sir Alwin.
Ito, parang yung sinabi mo, Sir Franco, siguro isa din na dapat maituro din natin sa mga students natin, celebrating small wins. Hindi po kailangan laging first honor, hindi laging kailangan be-medal yung student or yung bang sa ating parang best in class, yung ganon. Pero siguro one way as well para may paramdam natin sa kanila yung care natin, kahit yung magandang behavior ng student natin for a day, or yung for example meron tayong tahimik na student tapos biglang nag-recite, or kapag tinawag natin nag-recite na siya, uh, ang gandang mga bagay na dapat nating i-praise yung ating mga students, at kailangan din siguro maituro natin sa ating mga students yung mga iba't ibang bagay na to para they feel that we appreciate them and they feel that we are with them, lalong-lalo na ngayong time ng pandemic. So, gaya nga ng sinabi kanina ni Sir Jello, we should model what we want our students to learn from us. So, yung sa akin po naman in my end sa klase ko, parang kapag may isang teacher na pumuri ng advisory class ko, pagdating po ng advisory period, alam na ng estudyante ko at I will congratulate them for that good behavior. So, yun po yung parang celebrate wins na makikita din po natin dito sa curriculum or dito sa student certifications ng ating Edpuzzle, para maramdaman ng mga estudyante na it's not always winning big, but little wins, little steps, baby steps, they should all be celebrated. So teachers, I encourage you to come and visit once again the certifications, hindi lamang po para sa professional development ng nating mga teachers, pero a way to support our students in digital citizenship, building character, emotional intelligence, and among others. Pumunta din po tayo sa other side sa ating student certifications, and let us also help our students be certified kung meron silang Edpuzzle account. Makakatanggap din po sila ng mga badges dito, teachers.
Puwede siyang course in itself 'no, Sir Alwin,
Yes,
na
sir.
puwede nating ibigay sa ating mga estudyante 'no. Puwede siyang ano, complement sa ating, guidance modules para sa mga teachers natin, kay sa mga class advisors natin 'no. Or kahit actually for example sa mga, edukasyon sa pagpapakatao teachers natin, sa mga values education teachers natin, CLE teachers natin, kaya malaking tulong po. Actually kahit saan po 'no, ma-apply po natin 'yan, napakadami. Maraming salamat Sir Alwin 'no, for showing us that aspect 'no. And indeed, hindi lang talaga 'no, para sa teachers, hindi lang siya for, editing videos 'no. Edpuzzle is now going way and beyond the confines of just being a video editing, tool 'no. So talagang, full support si Edpuzzle sa ating mga, educators, okay. So I hope teachers na ma-maximize po natin yang, features na yan, okay. So, any other things, Sir Alwin, Sir Jello, that you'd like to share?
Siguro ako, Sir Franco and Sir Alvin, yun nga, medyo minsan po, because of the things that is happening and even the requirements that we need to accomplish yung mga tasks, yung mga to prepare them for this particular test, standardizes and everything, para mas maging handa sila doon. Pero sana po 'wag nating kalimutan, yun nga, tulad ng sabi ni Sir Franco, to instill values even in different ways. Kasi hindi lang naman po 'yan sa pagpasok natin sa classroom or even do sa klase natin. We can even go beyond that after our class. Pero if hindi natin siyang kayang integrate sa, ating lesson per se, tignan natin ano pa ng mga ibang ways. Puwedeng sa simula, puwedeng sa dulo, yun nakikita ko nga kaya nga natutuwa talaga ako Sir, Franco, Sir Alvin yung sa ano, sa chat natin ang daming mga ideas na binabato nila. So, maaari po nating tingnan 'yan. Puwedeng sa check-in, puwedeng kamustahin natin mga students, pero at the end of the day, parati po nating isipin kung ano yung puwede nating ibigay sa ating mga estudyante. And one of the things that I think, I always believe that planting the seed of values, of character is one of the things that we really need to do para sa ating mga students. So, yun lang po nung sa akin.
Huwag kakalimutan yung mga reminders na yan 'no, para sa ating mga teachers 'no. And of course, maraming salamat Sir Jello 'no, for guiding us, through this session and, ano 'no, ma-explore pa natin 'no, yung idea ng character building and, mindfulness among our teachers. Actually, these are also both 'no, true for our teachers as well. Siyempre kailangan natin maging mindful, patuloy pa rin yung pagbi-build natin ng characters natin kasi siyempre nga sabi nga ni Sir, Jello kanina tsaka ni Sir Alwin is that tayo pa rin po ang pinaka-best model ng ating mga estudyante 'no. Sa atin pa rin sila titingin, kung paano po tayo nakikiharap sa kanila, ano yung ginagawa natin, ano yung mga bina-value natin, could easily reflect and rub on our students. Okay, so, ano po 'yan, mahalaga rin po na tayo mismo yung, nag-aano 'no, nagmomodelo ng mga values na 'to, okay. And to show our appreciation to our speaker for today, we would like to present this certificate of recognition. Ambassador Alwin, could you please read the citation for our speaker's certificate of recognition?
So yes, Sir Franco. So this certificate of recognition is awarded to Angelo Magliari for sharing his knowledge and expertise in the recently concluded webinar entitled Edpuzzle and Mindfulness and Character Building, awarded on September 22, 2021, and signed or to be signed by yours truly, your Edpuzzle ambassador, and Franco Nicolo P. Adon, our Edpuzzle ambassador as well. So thank you very much, Sir Jello, for joining us and sharing a lot of tips on mindfulness and character building.
Maraming salamat ulit Sir Jello. Okay, and of course, Hindi naman basta-basta mawawala si Sir Jello dito sa ating ano, sa ating program 'no. Mainstay po ng kaagapay teacher support, Sir Jello. Maraming salamat, Sir Jello, at, good luck 'no, of course 'no, to the rest of the school years. Ating tatlo actually 'no, dahil we belong the same institution. Okay. So maraming salamat, Sir Jello 'no. And we'll now park Sir Jello to the backstage, and we'll see him again the next time. Sir, Alwin, okay, we would like now to show our evaluation link to our teachers, okay, for this session. Okay, so teachers, okay, you may evaluate the session now, okay, at https colon/tinyurl.com/edpuzzle8. Okay, edpuzzle ph8. Okay, so para po makatanggap po tayo ng certificate for this session. Teachers, wag po natin kakalimutan, just like what Sir Alwin reminded us of earlier. Sumali po tayo sa ating Edpuzzle Educator of the Month for September to get wonderful swag bags as well as cash prizes, as well as our Edpuzzle Coach of the Month. Okay, and again for our Edpuzzle coaches, don't forget you can send us your profile and we will create a profile, Edpuzzle Coach profile para po sa inyong lahat. Okay. So maraming salamat, and teachers, we'll see you again on our next set of webinars in October. Yun na po ang ating last two for our Edpuzzle series, webinar series. No? Okay, yan. Maraming salamat, teachers. No? Sir Alvin, by the way, teachers, no, bago tayo magpaalam, gusto ko lang po ulit pala i-congratulate si Sir Alvin. Okay? Siya na po ngayon ng isang quizzes super trainer. Tama ba yung term ko, Sir Alwin? Super trainer.
Yes, Sir
Yun,
Franco.
super trainer
daw po.
Yes, at si Sir Alwin po ang magli-lead ng localization at promotion ng quizzes sa Pilipinas. Okay? So hindi lang po siya Edpuzzle ambassador, no. We can consider Sir Alwin now as quizzes ambassador sa Pilipinas. Yan. Okay, congratulations Sir Alwin, at
Thank you very
we
much,
thank
Sir
you.
Franco.
Yan. We thank you for always no sharing your expertise and your time to all of our teachers, no, regardless of the tools we're using. Okay? Yan. So, maraming salamat, teachers, and we'll see you again next time in our next session. Okay. Salamat, Sir
Thank you,
Alvin.
teachers. Thank you, Sir Franco. Bye.